So we just got back from seeing Morbius for the second time, and I think we both liked it more even the second time than we
I
did
like
the
it.
first time.
And it's like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I
Yeah.
actually just like the movie. I
Yeah.
think it just, if I think the fact that it is Marvel and it is considered a comic book movie and it's in the whole, like, it gets thrown into a bracket of every other, superhero movie. And I think it kind of works being like its own separate thing. I wish they wouldn't have called it Morbius or, made it comic book related, made it anything related to Marvel. They just would have made like an actual living vampire, Jared Leto play a living vampire.
Hmm.
It would have just been like really cool. But the fact that they made it Morbius, I think that's probably what is the downfall. Because if they just would have gave Jared Leto that script, he would have been like, oh yeah, I could totally do this. This this piques my interest because A, I'm vain, and B, I have the ego the size of Texas. So it's like, yeah, like that fits him. I think it was a perfect cast. I think for
Hmm.
what he did, how he acted, and like how it was written, I think everything worked. I just don't think they should have put Marvel on it or called it Morbius. They should have just called it Jared Leto. Like they could have just called it like Michael or like Jason or can't use those names. Um, you know, they could have named it anything else. It just shouldn't be associated with the Marvel universe or comic books
Just
at
like
all.
Mike and Milo.
Yeah, they could have named it
Um,
like Bat Friends.
Bat Friends.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like I get the whole Milo and
Hmm.
the Milo and Michael argument though, but I kind of in that one sense it when he said we can go do anything now, I kind of wish like I would have got to see that. Like I kind of wish we could have seen Michael and Milo just kind of like go to Paris or something, something they probably couldn't do before. If they would have probably spent another like 10 or 15 minutes with like scenes like that, then it would have made the big fight scene a little bit better. Because
So, do you think they should have?
obviously,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, obviously they were friends for a long time
Yeah.
and just the two different aspects of it. And it was just like Milo didn't even have any bad tendencies, period. He was just, you know, always less than. So I felt like if they would have had a scene immediately after they had that confrontation in the street after he broke out of prison, if they would have like, gone to like Thailand or like, traveled and did like stuff they probably couldn't do before and then had that fight, like, and then he saw like guys at the bar who was trying to fight and then he lost control and then and then they had the whole like you can be anything you want, like let's just be murderers, like then that scene would have made more sense because it was the immediate like we can do
Tonal
whatever we want,
shift.
he's like
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, there was
So
no he didn't have a gray area to play in before he definitively
mhm,
chose a side. I agree with you. I think that was something that was missing, and
mhm.
you and I had that conversation about like what wasn't in the film, and we both talked about how we noticed a lot of ADR. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
interested.
bad too, like I've never noticed it that bad
It's just
before.
obvious AD. It was like as obvious as it was in Galaxy Quest. Um,
Oh my god, I love Galaxy Quest.
yeah. I didn't necessarily mind the ADR only because you caught more than I did. What I initially caught was them swapping out ass for arm. So I was like,
Mhm.
maybe they did that to get like a PG-13 rating or something.
But ass doesn't
Ass isn't,
mean
yeah,
anything anymore. Like
yeah,
2-year-olds say ass.
yeah. Plus, it could also be referring to an animal. So,
But I mean,
um,
let's be honest.
yeah,
It 95% of the time it's not.
yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. I think we were missing that, even if it weren't necessarily or was not necessarily after they both had their powers and them going off together and seeing what they could be. It could have been that, or it could have been before they both got their powers, like a college night out where they were having a good time. They got into it with a couple of guys, and Milo maybe took it too far with trying to get back at them,
Yeah.
and Michael had to step in and stop him. And we
Like
did see a
again,
little
that
bit of
scene at the
that when he
bar.
was, yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that scene at the bar, I think like if there would have been like a couple of scenes before that scene of like him and Michael, him doing, like them doing stuff, and then they were out together one night together, and then that happened, and then it would have to be, Michael saying like, oh hey, like let's just go drink our fake blood and like go dance to 30 seconds to Mars somewhere. But it was like he was, like you said already about the gray area. Like I
Yeah.
think just it was just missing like that little like actual friendship
Hmm.
chunk.
Because,
And like, oh,
oh,
go ahead.
well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like,
No, I'm
if he's
good.
gonna definitively choose to not go hunting people, but then immediately after the movie ends, he takes a meeting with Adrian Toombs, even though he probably has no idea who he is in his universe.
Hmm.
What's going to happen there? I feel like at this point, you would expect Morbius to be the anti-hero of within the Sinister Six. He's going to try to figure out how to stop all of them. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I feel like they may have unintentionally spoiled how the first Sinister Six movie would go. I don't know.
And you know what else? I just, when that scene came up, I was just like, I still don't get this. Like, I still don't get like what was even the point of him. Because when I first saw the film, when you
Mhm.
first see Adrian kind of do the whole glow glisten thing, like in
Right.
Far From Home, I mean, No
Right.
Way Home, I thought he was disappearing, going back to the MCU. So
Okay.
I was just like, so when he was already in a jail cell in
Mhm.
his jumpsuit, so I just assumed he was already
Mhm.
just going back to the MCU. But when he actually stayed, I was just like, oh, okay. I was just like, okay, so yeah, so he's gonna stay in the Sony
Mhm.
MCU.
Mhm.
And then when the other scene happened and he showed up, which was again all ADR,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, so what's happening here? Because if they are doing the kind of team up thing, they've already kind of established that Venom would most likely be a good guy, right?
And see, yeah, that's probably the other issue right now is that they're kind of setting them up to be like underdogs in every story. In the iterations that we see them in, they're underdogs. So it's like we don't. They seem to be good guys. So
Mm-hmm.
even Adrian is a good guy, and in the way that he was trying to go about taking care of his family.
And
Like,
also, how did Adrian get himself the same exact equipment as he did in the MCU? Like, I haven't even seen a breakdown of anybody, if anybody said that he's wearing like two different costumes, two different helmets. Like,
I did
I
see a
haven't seen any
picture.
breakdowns.
I
So
did see a picture that his this the one that we saw him in Morbius had like a beak on the front of it, but the one in Homecoming did not.
okay.
Yeah, so yeah, is there a Tony Stark in this universe, and was there an Avengers Fallout in this universe? But
Well, I mean,
but if Morbius doesn't flinch
if
at the sound of Spider-Man, then Spider-Man must exist in his universe too. So then there
but this is
must have
all a little
been a Tony.
confusing
Okay.
too, because I think that when we get to, I know we're getting more Spider-Man films,
Mhm.
so I'm assuming that after we get, if they just did this and they're doing the Madam Web movie, so maybe there's some kind of like connective tissue within all these other like adaptations, because for them to do Madam Web and then have a Sinister Six movie, and then but Tom Holland, didn't he say he was taking a break?
Yeah.
So
I mean, they can have
are we
Sinister
to
Six
get,
without
supposed
Spider-Man.
to get, okay, well, no, 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 yeah, yeah, yes, that's what
Yeah.
I mean. I'm fine with that, but I'm saying like so far in his two movies, he's only dealt with Vulture and, I was gonna say Mephisto, Mysterio.
No, it's definitely
So
Mephisto.
then there's Venom, I guess, who's there still. Now Morbius, and now, okay, so there's only four people.
Let's not forget that, remember when the original promos went out, he was walking by a sign that said murder and it was a picture of Spider-Man. And after
Exactly.
seeing No Way Home, the assumption was that it was Andrew Garfield's
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Because everyone wants Tom Hardy with Andrew Garfield,
Mhm.
which it would be amazing if it actually happened.
Mhm.
Honestly, I think they could just do another like. I mean, I probably would. It'd be very cost effective to make another big like team up movie, but I feel like maybe they're gonna give us Spider-Man 4 and the Amazing Spider-Man 3. I don't know about Tobey Maguire's back.
If they give us two different versions of Spider-Man, then two of them would have to be in the same one together.
Mhm.
And it would probably be Tom by himself and then the other two together. That would be my guess,
Do you think that
because Tom is specifically in, we know for a fact he's in the MCU. And the other two, I believe, would be part of, Toby and Andrew, I think, would be part of just a joint temporary. I mean, that's just my assumption. I don't know. I don't know. Also, that background is kind of making me look like you're just a floating head because you're wearing a black hat and a black sweatshirt.
oh, I asked if you wanted me to change.
Oh, I'm wearing also a black shirt.
Yeah, but you have a I designed, I accessorized for
But
the occasion.
so you were talking about how you liked the intro and the
Yeah,
outro because it was so retro. I loved it too. I liked all the
yeah.
colors.
And I still
It
had
was
the
fun.
same exact moment I felt when the movie was starting. I was just like, I'm about to see
Yeah.
a Jared Leto vampire movie. I was just like, it's just like 12-year-old, I mean, a 14, 15, 16, 16-year-old me would be very happy about that. I was just thinking that was a long time ago. I think that even with Venom 2, with the Carnage scene
Mhm.
and the scene when Morbius, you know, unleashes his, unleashes at the very beginning, his entrance scene where he killed all those people on the boat. I
Mhm.
like those scenes. And it had a very good horror element.
It did.
It
It
was very
did.
scary.
It did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was
That's
like,
oh.
and again, and that's when I thought that this shouldn't be a movie that's about superheroes. Like they should not have made this movie anything to do with a comic book at all. If they just would have made him like a weird scientist experimenting with vampire bats, you know,
Mhm.
and
And
then
it
all hell
yeah.
breaks loose for one full week in New York City. Whoa. But they
Oh, do you think they were maybe going for a Dr. Sattler and Dr. Grant relationship? Because I didn't really feel the chemistry between um, Morbius and
Martine.
Bancroft.
Mm-hmm.
Bancroft. So I was wondering if maybe that was the type of feel they were going for, or maybe a lot of their intimate scenes maybe got cut or something.
Maybe.
I just wasn't really. I didn't realize they were a thing really until they went on the roof and kissed each other. Because
Yeah.
if anything, it felt kind of like maybe they tried it and they realized it wasn't for either one of them, but they were still good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they worked together for so long and blah blah blah. And I'm sure the fact that she probably didn't want to pursue a relationship with him, she already had one with him, and she probably knew he was going to pass away. So even embarking on an intimate relationship with someone you're already intimate with, because working together in like a think tank in a lab,
It's
that's
intimate.
that's very close quarters friendships.
Hmm.
I'm sure he knows when she gets her period,
It's true though.
and now he can smell it.
That's a problem.
I've noticed you're ovulating. I actually really dug the scenes where he would be like I dug those. They're kind of cool. And like some, yeah, it it could have it. I don't think it
But
deserves the
it doesn't.
16%.
Yeah, it
It doesn't
doesn't.
deserve the
It doesn't.
16% or the
People are just overreacting.
or people are
They're
saying all this crazy stuff, but it's I'm shocked that it's getting the reaction it is getting. But a lot of comic book people think Morbius is not something you adapt into live action. Like it's just so weird.
but you can okay, but you can't say that about Morbius and then go ham when you see Guardians of the Galaxy
I know, and that was
or
so
Ant
weird.
Man.
And I
Yeah.
always thought Guardians of the Galaxy was a gamble. And when I
Yeah.
first saw the trailer, I was like, this looks weird. Like
Yeah. I
I
definitely
still
didn't think I was gonna like it, but I was like, I'm gonna go see it, but I don't think I'm gonna like it.
everybody felt the exact same way.
Hmm.
And the funniest thing is like Marvel does a really good job of making these characters probably like more popular and probably better, because a lot of people were like, oh, they weren't that popular, like
Mm-hmm.
comic book wise. And same with, I heard that a lot when Iron Man first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man wasn't popular and the Avengers weren't popular,
Mm-hmm.
which was weird.
Because everybody
And
preferred the X-Men, I think, or
mhm.
yeah.
And then we got all those X-Men movies and everybody hated those, which is funny because again, when they were out, I was only surrounded by people who loved them.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm older, I'm just seeing so much people say they hate them.
So I wonder if this was like a retrospective I hate it, or if they always, or if they hated it then but didn't realize they hated it, or if it
Mm-hmm.
was like I liked it because that was all I had, but now looking at that compared to what I've gotten, I hate it. Oh, what I wanted to say, you were talking about horror,
Ha.
HORROR.
Mm-hmm.
Arr. Anywho, when I was watching the like the beginning sequence when he's revealed as the vampire, and then the end when he was fighting Milo, all I kept thinking about was life and how simplistic it was, the setting for the film and the way the story was told and the way it unfolded. And I was thinking like, kind of back to what you're saying about it not being a comic book movie, had he just gotten this adaptation and was able to rework it into whatever he wanted it to be, what would we have gotten? But I mean, I'm still happy with what I saw, but I
Mm-hmm.
know that I know because of what I've seen previously from this director, I know where it could have gone. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Hmm.
that's true.
Hmm. Did you
Dun,
did
dun.
you fe-
Oh,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say the one thing I really did like at the end when he called for his bats.
Yeah.
I like that scene, but also that song they were playing was really good. So I was just like, I think I gotta listen to that soundtrack.
I was looking for it like 2 or 3 days ago and I couldn't find it. So I'm like, hopefully they'll post it soon. The other thing I wanted to say, and you know what's fun about that scene is that when he initially calls for the bats, I was like, I feel like he just called for bats, but I don't know, did he just call for bats? But then the bats actually
Mm-hmm.
showed up and I was like excited. And
Mm-hmm.
then and I think I said this before, I liked the callback to him figuring out that he could fly.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he's up on the roof, he's like running and he gets close to the edge and like the wind starts to pick up and all that like stuff is like wishing, the wind is wishing by him or whatever, and he
The
almost like,
wishing.
yeah, the wishing, and he almost
Mm-hmm.
goes over the edge, and he's able to like stop himself from going.
Would you say he was close to the edge?
He was he was close to the edge, and I feel like you're not going to say that you're sorry for that one.
I'm sorry.
And I will never forget. No, I will never forget.
Oh my God. Rest in peace, my teenage years.
So would you say it was maybe a fantasy of his to play a living vampire?
Oh, I think maybe, like I said, I haven't seen the last, what, eight, 9 movies he's done, which is like bad for me because literally how I used to like be obsessed with this man and I haven't seen like
Look, because
a lot of his
coming off
a
of
lot of
Requiem
his
for a
films.
Dream and American Psycho and Fight Club, you were excited to see whatever he was gonna. Oh, and Panic Room.
But listen, I watched everything he did up until the year 2007.
What happened in 2007?
Mr. Nobody came out in 2009.
Okay, but what happened in 2007?
That was
Weren't
it,
you
chapter 27. Chapter
okay?
27 was his
Did you
last
see that?
movie. Yeah.
You saw chapter 27?
You, me, and watched it
I've
in the
never
basement.
seen it.
How do
I've
you
never
not
seen
remember?
it.
We sat in the basement with and watched it.
I've never
We were with
seen it.
somebody,
I wasn't there.
Angela.
It wasn't me.
Angela. We watched it and
I
we were
had already
just
moved
like,
away.
you were you didn't move for 5 years from then.
Yeah, I see you didn't get my do you think it was a fantasy for him to be
Oh, oh, ew. This is
fled for
gonna
this
be.
fantasy?
Do,
No?
I'm gonna.
He lived, he died, and he bled
Oh, oh,
for
okay,
Morbius for this
okay.
fantasy. How did you feel about Dr. Bancroft? I felt I don't know what was removed from the film, but I felt she was underutilized.
It could have been.
Yeah.
She could have been.
And I almost want to know if there was a scene that was cut that made her.
We live in a cemetery.
I feel like if they had actually dove in on their relationship, then her biting his lip at the end would make more sense because she's biting his lip, meaning that she's going to see if it'll turn her because then they can be together. That's really the only thing I can see, but just that action alone, I don't know, it was kind of baffling to me. So I just wanted to know if there was a little bit more there. She seemed like a woman who put science first. So it seemed out of character to do something on impulse like that. But I
Mm,
guess she was dying, so maybe.
I mean, when I'm dying, I do weird stuff like that.
I like the movie. I think people are being really hard on it. I understand why they're being hard on it because I think it's in the grand scheme of comic book movies, it is a phase one. It is a phase one movie, but I mean, so were the other phase one movies that we got in later on in the phases. So, and we still love them just as much. So, do you think that they should, instead of showing how characters get their powers, just skip that? Oh, that's what I wanted to say to you earlier. I'm sorry. Let me say this thing first and then I'll go back to the thing that you said before. Do you think they should skip showing how characters got their powers altogether at this point? Do you think the audience that goes to see these movies, do you think we need to sit through how they got their powers?
I'm not sure. I don't mind it. I like it.
I don't mind it either, but I also didn't mind watching because my mind goes to Infinity War and how it just like dropped you right into the to what was happening. You know?
All the drama.
Yeah, and it was just like bam, bam, bam,
It
bam,
was,
bam.
yeah.
And granted, at that point, we had already had like X amount of years of story build, 10 years of story
Like
building at
we
that point.
all knew that Infinity War was just going to be a lot because
Right.
especially when the first trailer dropped and it looked like they were in New York on
Yeah.
Titan, on Xandar, on in space, like we were like,
What
how
is
fucking
this?
long is this movie?
Yeah.
And like, what
It
is
could
gonna
have been
really happen?
longer. It could have been
Honestly, yeah, it
longer.
could have.
Yeah.
It could have
It could have
been
been longer.
because I think when I first when of course when you first see the movie, you're just so blown away by everything you're seeing that you're not really like you're not paying attention to like how much time and how many different places you're just kind of like
Yeah.
like that's pretty much how I watch all films, period.
Hmm.
So when you watch it again, you're just like, okay, 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 okay. So what part of Infinity War do you think they would have expanded on?
Um, gosh, I kind of want to know what was going on in the shots that weren't in the final film. Honestly, I think it's a perfect film. I don't know if there's anything that I would change.
I never thought to change
The only
anything
thing
in
I would change is us knowing who had a contract, who had movies coming out afterwards. That's the only
yeah,
thing I would have changed.
yeah.
Because if we didn't
It's
know
like
that, then
it's
it would have hurt so much more.
but the thing about it is like we take so much information in now with the internet that like I remember when I used to just get like phone calls from about like who was going to be in movie stuff because he used to stay on those sites like those blogging.
Hmm.
So he would always talk to me about that kind of stuff. But then when I got older and then I started getting into Marvel and I literally got on Twitter and it was just like a whole new world. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much stuff on here. And
Hmm.
like they know everything.
Hmm.
And like, because these are people who are like tweeting people who are in the industry who are like spoiling shit. So it's like that aspect of it plus the movies now are so big that as soon as like a celebrity is announced, it's like every single media market has Pierce Brosnan is playing Dr. Fate. Like every single media
Yeah.
outlet has it.
Yeah.
And honestly, up until I saw that friggin' Black Adam thing, I was just like, I forgot Pierce Brosnan was in the movie. Like I've gotten so much
I forgot
information
too.
in the last 2 years, I
Yeah.
completely forgot. Because when he showed up, I was just like, oh, what's Pierce Brosnan doing in there? Get out of there, Pierce Brosnan. Yes.
I have a
So
question. Oh,
yeah,
I have
no,
a
go
question
ahead.
for you.
Go ahead.
Do you think a lot of the backlash for this film has anything and everything to do with his performance as Joker?
I would say probably yes. But you know what
But
else?
what? I was gonna say Ryan Reynolds got another shot
Yeah.
twice because he did Green Lantern and the first Deadpool in. Oh, that's what I wanted to say earlier. When you were
Oh,
talking
that's
about
right.
if Milo
He was
and
Wolverine. He was Wade, and then
yeah,
he was Green
yeah,
Lantern. Then he was Wade again.
yeah.
That's funny.
If
Remember
I
Deadpool 2 when he did the silly thing?
that was great.
You bro, I was cracking up in theaters.
Well, you know what's crazy though? Like when I saw him doing it in the Deadpool 2, I was like, I've seen this before, right? But
It
no,
was
but what I
so
wanted to say
good.
was when you were talking about how Mike and Milo, like Michael should have like been like, okay, let's do this. Let's leave the country because my name is tarnished here anyway. You
Mhm.
have money to take us everywhere, so let's just go somewhere. When you mentioned that earlier, I was kind of thinking, wouldn't it have been fun if they actually spent not like a few years, but like a few months.
Yeah.
But that montage was something similar to Origins with Victor and Logan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that montage is sick.
That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I love that montage.
Victor!
Victor! He should come back.
Yeah. Lee is in his 50s though, right? Oh, so is Hugh.
Yeah, but I mean, what's 50 when you've got computers that can reanimate your face?
Stop it. And you know what? It's like I liked seeing a young Mark Hamill. It's perfect, but like it's not real. So it kind of like it's like really exciting for technology, and you're just like, Jesus, like look what we can do. Like look at like a green screen from like, look at something from like 1990
My
versus like doing something right now. And it's like the technology is advanced. Like we're insane people. Like, and
yeah,
we demand like we're
we
insane
demand, yeah,
people.
we demand
We demand.
satisfaction at
But
all.
it's like,
One thing that I thought was funny was when he's sitting in the park with Milo and he's like, Milo's like, well, what will you need? And he's like, I'll need a boat to international waters. I need a boat out in international waters. Jump cut to international waters.
international waters. I thought that was funny too. I was just like, well, wouldn't that actually have a name? And I was just like, let me not think about it too much. I was just like, they said international waters.
Yeah.
They're really there.
We we like the movie. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited for if he gets a sequel, we'll be there. We're excited to see when they get that team up for Sinister Six. It seems like they're probably not gonna. I feel like they're probably not gonna do a sequel right away. They're probably gonna go ahead and get Craven out. They might bring in. Is Madam Web part of Sinister Six? I don't know her character, her arc at all.
You should.
Yeah.
She's got a very interesting story.
Okay. So I mean, at this point, if they just do the origin movies, and like I said, like I could go either way. I can watch an origin movie, or you can just drop me into the story, and I'll pick up the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I think I wanted a little bit more Tyrese. He was very stoic
He did nothing. He just
and
walked from like room to room. He had a giant scar on his neck for no damn reason. He
yeah.
had a weird thing on his arm. Like, who was he supposed to be?
Which, if you notice, when they when they initially showed all the trailers, I felt like there were a whole lot more shots with him and his arm out, or at least there was one defining shot I remember. But then in the final cut, he was in a jacket the entire time, except for one time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that's something they'll build on later. I don't know. The other thing I wanted to say was that I think what would have made this story full circle for me personally was him reconnecting with Anna by the end of the film and trying to figure out what was wrong, or figure out a way to help her. I don't know. I mean, obviously he couldn't like give her some of his bat serum that he made, but I thought it would have been full circle to see him like at least in his new laboratory looking at her file. And again, I really liked the horror elements of it, and I kind of wish they would have leaned into it a little bit more. But I did like that once Milo changed, he was like in his vamp face for like the almost the entire rest of the film. Because he was like, screw it, I don't have to be, me anymore. I like the foreshadowing imagery of when he first showed up to the lab, and it was just the background, that LED background that he was walking towards was completely red because he only wanted blood. Thank you, and we'll
Thanks for
catch
watching
you.
our weird video about Morbius and Jared
Yeah.
Leto, and yep.
Okay. See you on the next one.
Bye.